Sometimes life deals you a hand that you don't like.
Round up all the miners. I want all of them. You hear me?
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Well, I'll have a warrant that says I can by the time we arrive.
Put up a fight. Nobody's here forever. So before
No woman. No kids. And no old friends. What do we do? Thousands of people in that bag. Where the hell are they?
The pieces we've lost, we can try to forgive and move on. It's time to wake up.
Say, miss, have you by any chance seen a turd around here?
Well, what does this turd look like? Is it blue?
Move on now.
I'm Cecil B. Demented, and you're in my movie. You look in the camera and ruin a take, you're dead.
Do you know Quentin Tarantino? I love his movies.
No ad-libbing!
We can move on now.
This is a big welcome to Stephen and Tova.
Hi, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks. Howdy. How you doing?
Well, they really got this movie. They were laughing along. They just love that character who's like bright-eyed and naive in this Nashville, and they were in the ride with you there with whatever happening.
Nice.
Yeah, I always want to go to Nashville, and I feel like I've had.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
I
it's
just was there.
Yeah, I was just there too. I've been there a lot in the last.
No, I mean because of the movie.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah.
felt like it took me there, right? It's like,
Yeah, a lot of people at Nashville, they, especially in the music community, and basically just as a city, they all felt like it was one of the most authentic films made about that town, because it's not really, you know, there's not too many actors in the movie. There's only me and Christopherson and this kid Matt Barr at the end. He's so I lied to you. There's three SAG members in the movie, but everybody else is. You know, we cast the movie with real people and real characters, and
totally.
I'd say about 60% of all of the filming and the improving was and the music was all with people not knowing that we were making a movie. You know.
Really.
Yeah. So they really believed in. That Wheeler was real. So that's why we kind of, originally the whole concept was I didn't want to do a movie like Crazy Heart or Country Strong or go to Nashville with a bunch of actors and kind of, you know, me in a cowboy hat and do a...
Remake Tender Mercies.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I'd seen those movies. Plus, you know, my family and I come from a family of songwriters, and so if I was going to dabble in this world, I knew, I wanted to have the songs. So I knew we had the songs. And then... I thought, geez, you know, I woke up and I said, well, you know, because without having a full script, which takes time, and then we got to go get the $5 million, $6 million bucks, and we go down there, we're casting actors, and I got to get a love interest. You know, it just starts becoming
a movie.
It just becomes a movie, and what I wanted to do was really more of an experiment. I wanted to vet this guy on the ground, and I didn't want to sing to playback. I wanted to have a room like this, if it was 20 people or if it was the Bluebird. With the help of Bobby Tomberlin, who's in the film and who's a real songwriter. He would vouch for Wheeler. I would show up and then get up on stage and sing and have one take to film that sequence, you know, but we went over the crowd. If I had bombed, then that would be the next scene we'd write. So we really let the movie write itself with then filling in blanks, recreating some things, and then having Christopherson obviously come in and give it an ending. And but it was a really unique way. It was probably like I talked to Sacha Baron Cohen at my premiere in LA for the movie, and he kind of was tripping on the movie and the prosthetics. And I said, well, the idea was just I didn't want to go into that and then it wouldn't have worked if I go into a cafe, like for example, where we go eat. You know, that's Sherry who owns that place, and she thought she was just she's like, what's with these cameras? She thought she was doing a YouTube thing for this singer-songwriter, which these guys come into that town all the time. Meanwhile, these 4K Dragon cameras, we're making a movie and they don't know, you know? So you get these great reactions, plus then the crowd stuff, which was really important, and then the session with the studio guys. But like for me,
But when they saw filming, other people, not just the girl in the breakfast, what did they think?
They just kind of thought, you know, these days, that's the kind of,
Right,
in this crazy world, everybody's shooting everything. So, like, you know, they don't really take much notice, you know, and they
Right.
probably put a sign out and said, you know, they'll be shooting tonight at the Bluebird, because Bobby had already said, gotten clearance. You know, he was kind of my secret assassin on stuff, because it didn't throw my name into the mix. I
Yeah.
didn't have to involve my brother or my dad, and it was,
Right.
but yeah, no, to make a long story short, I talked to Sacha Baron Cohen, and I said, I approach this movie the way you would approach Borat, or they've approached comedies probably before, where you commit to your look, you commit to your character, and you go into that situation, try to get those moments. I'm just trying to do a drama, which is a lot harder in that fast-paced shooting, you know, when you're just going for the joke or the lunacy of what I can make you guys react to.
Right.
You can get away with it a little easier. You don't also have to make a aesthetically beautiful movie. So, you know, we're trying to make shots. We're trying to get one take. It was like dinner theater, you know, under all this makeup. It was pretty out there, and I kind of asked for it because I got myself into the whole thing. So.
But it did come off really as authentic, you know, and a character that is very real and endearing.
Yeah, that was what's weird, is we just used that kind of idea of how to make the movie that way, but then ultimately we're creating a character and a portrait of a guy through this kind of 3-week journey in this town, and some really nice things happen to him, and then we understand
Just
who
when
he
I
is.
thought that I want to move there and it will happen for me, the accident happened, so.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, since the movie came out, like, not too many. We did it in a very. I mean, when we approached the movie, there was nothing on IMDb. There was no press releases. There was nothing until we sold the movie, and until the trailer launched, you know, a few months back, and my name was on it. But even the album, when you buy the album, or, you know, we're getting vinyls too. The vinyl comes in like a month, I think. But it just says performed and written by Wheeler Bryson. But I wrote all the songs. You know what I mean? I own all that music. But anyway, no, the song's all over. Pour Me Out of This Town, though, is all over the radio now, country radio. You know, it's on the highway and all these great stations. So the song's kind of gaining some traction. And I wrote the song with my brother, and so it's. Yeah, this is a real special one for me, because I kind of made the movie for my dad and my brother and the world of a songwriter, because very much the songwriter, especially in the world of country, if you're not an artist that writes all your own music, which most of them don't,
Right.
they rely on the songwriter and the pool of all those writers to get those songs that they ultimately cut. And I thought there was something really cool about exploring that world, because I come from that world. I grew up going with my dad to Nashville, and my dad's written a lot of hits, and my dad's in the audience tonight.
We'll
don't know where he
introduce him
is,
very
but-
soon.
Oh, there he is. Hey, how are you? But they were actually in Michael Woodrum, where the Wheeler sound came from. There's a studio literally maybe 8 blocks from here, where we created, where I was writing some of these songs, and where I created the sound of Wheeler once we decided. You know, because normally you have a movie and then you write the songs for the movie. In this movie, we had the songs, and we just hatched a character in my living room in Malibu, and me and Ryan Ross, who directed the movie, we broke a story, and went with an Academy Award-winning makeup artist and basically a cameraman and a 12-page treatment, and just let this thing ride.
So no
Wow.
script.
No.
Wow.
So, you know, it was a pretty cool experiment that ultimately became a movie. I kept telling Ryan, I said, I don't think this movie's going to be long enough, man. It's going to be 40 minutes. It's not going to... And then we have a 40-minute movie. It's not a short. It's not a movie. What the hell is it?
Well, if you let him live a little longer, it would have been a longer movie.
But he kept like saying, no, it's going to be long enough. It's gonna
Oh,
be
you
long
should have
enough." I
taken
said,
Uber.
Huh? Yeah. But no, we did it. Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we drove from Texas to Nashville. We did the whole thing kind of in a very short amount of time, too.
What was your schedule for the whole
I mean,
thing?
we shot the whole movie in 13 days. You know.
Incredible.
And that's with the Christopherson sequence. And it was
Who got
because we didn't have
Christopherson?
I did, because me and Chris we're good friends, and we made we made 3 movies together now. And I just always loved him as a kind of a
totally.
As a poet, as a singer-songwriter, as an actor, and there's not too many of them that have done all that. And so he, and there's only 2 Highwaymen left, really. It's him and Willie Nelson, because Merle Haggard died right after we shot the movie. And so, I called Chris immediately because I thought the perfect person to get for Wheeler to run into and kind of meet his favorite person, you know, would be a great sequence. And then Chris showed up and had that song and gave us that song for the album too, which is a song he wrote for him and Bob Dylan, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of like passing the baton to this.
Very cool.
So he's an amazing dude, and he just turned 80, and he's still. I just heard he's doing a new movie too. I was like, damn it, it's not with me. No, I love that. I love that guy though. He's a stud. But this was a total unique thing, and we made it really fast because we kind of would shoot warp speed, like the way you would do dinner. I mean, it was like
there's no reverse shots. You're just doing
we're in the cafe. All right, let's do 3 scenes here, and I'll be like, in my accent, Sherry, you mind going in the back? You have another outfit because we might, we're making this little crazy thing for YouTube, and maybe we'll do something, it'll show that we're coming back to your place, and something like that. And she'd be like, sure, Wheeler, I could change, and so she got changed and stuff, and then we'd do this scene, and then we'd boom, and then we get a call. Damn, Bobby did hook up the Bluebird. We got 1 take at it. He's going to invite you up at the writer's round, which is like a big deal, So I'm like, fuck. So then we bang, we go eat dinner, go over there, get that 1 take. I mean, it was like mental.
So the audience in that Blue Cafe believed that you are this Travis
Bluebird
person.
Nobody had any idea. I was getting cards from the agents and CAA agents in Nashville. When are you coming back to town, Wheeler? I'm like, maybe soon, man. I was like,
if I don't get in a car wreck.
It's fucking... It was weird. It was trippy. Yeah, it was trippy. I mean, then there were certain scenes that were set up because we need to link.
Right.
We need to link things because at the end of the day, Wheeler's not real. He's a character that I'm playing. It's a performance, but it's we wanted to put him on the ground in the most realistic way, so we're not getting, is that the guy from Blade, or that's the guy from the e-cig ads, or that's the guy, I mean, then our idea just goes out the window and the music gets affected, and we just wanted to, and for me, I've never played live and I've never done anything with my music, so that was my dad and my brother's, main job, and my main job was to make movies and act, and I've made some music movies along the way, but again, that was the typical scripted pre-record, you're singing to a track kind of, or mouthing it, and this was different,
And,
oh, no, go ahead.
no, I forgot.
Okay.
The question.
I wanted to ask you about the makeup, the prosthetic nose.
I was going to, that's the question.
It's actually a lot more than you'd think. It's subtle, but it's a lot different. My face, I have a butt chin, what I call a butt chin. Big old like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I got one
chin.
of them, yeah.
And then I got a big lip, because I have a small bottom lip, and we wanted Wheeler to have a big, so I have a lip piece that goes and is sealed on the inside. I have a nose and eyebrows that kind of limit my eye movement, and then I have a mole and the wig. Then I put the boots and the whole thing on and the accent, and then Wheeler's alive.
And that was what, 3 hours later?
It's about 3 hours, yeah. And Christian Tinsley, he's nominated for Passion of the Christ, and he does Westworld. He's a makeup genius, but he really got off on, at first when I went to meet him, I'm like, dude, I got 4 songs of me singing country. I got, I got a treatment, and I know I want to change my face to where it could just throw it off a bit. So if I fill this thing, it just won't be, we're not in LA, New York, we're in Nashville, I can do this, And he got off on, I think, that, and the fact that it was very realistic, and, how could I stand next to my dad, my own dad, or my own brother maybe, and they won't know it's me, that would be kind of cool, and so we sculpted my face and do what you do for all these movies, and a couple weeks later I came back, and there was like 4 Wheeler heads, and one was like a bald guy with like a big chops, and like he looked like a serial killer. I was like, whoa, no, I was like, that's too intense, Christian. He's like, well, I'm just trying to give you choices. And I was like, and then this guy over here was like, had this nose, it was just too pointy. I was like, that's too Meryl Streep and Into the Woods, I was like, let's lose that. I'm like, what about this guy over here, And he looked kind of, he looked like a Chris Christopherson. He kind of, just a little different, and because I just didn't want to do just the cowboy hat, and we didn't have a script, so then we're like, we're not able to shoot, and I really wanted to shoot. I wanted to like get on the ground and just let's see what happens.
Who needs a script?
Yeah, with this one, who needed a script? But ultimately,
So how uncomfortable is it?
It's uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for like Eddie Murphy and all these dudes that have done all those movies and that stuff. I mean, Jesus, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I've done like noses and little things over the years in movies, but I've had contacts but the lip was the hardest thing because,
Right.
you drink, you eat, you got to do what you normally would do, and this thing starts flapping, and you can't sing, and then I got to go up, and I have one take to do stuff. I'm like, So I have this guy, Hero, my main makeup tech, who's Christian's right hand, and I just look at him because if I blew out, if I went, the lip would go, it was crazy. So I was like, dude, we need a seal, seriously. And then we would have to sneak into because we have no lights, no trailers, no anything. We just walk in as the character and let them fly to everybody that's there, the extras.
There's no crew. You're mic'd, and that's
Oh,
it.
yeah, I'm mic'd. We got a sound dude that's kind of hanging out, kind of incoherently. I mean, not incoherently, kind of, what's the word?
Yes.
Conspicuously. Or whatever, just kind of like sitting there, kind of blends in with the crowd, and he's got his little fucking thing. And again, they think, oh, okay, it's a little
Another toy
short
someone's playing
or
with.
something on this guy. They're trying to get him a deal or something, I don't know.
We used to
Yeah.
call that guerrilla filmmaking, but this is bigger than guerrilla. I
Yeah,
think.
and that was cool. I mean, because in a weird way, you don't, unless you read about it or you hear about it, when you see it the second time, you could pick up probably a lot more of those kinds of moments. Whereas when you watch it, I think you get sucked into Nashville just because it does feel real.
Yeah,
And that's
totally.
really what that enabled us to do, Normally I wouldn't, I'm fine not wearing all that prosthetics, unless I have to,
So let me ask you, because you have such a long list of credits and appearances with all kind of really terrific actors, Jack Nicholson, Michael Shannon, I love him. So how did you start? Where did you start?
Well, I was born in Georgia, and I moved to LA when I was 6 months old.
Get it right, yeah. Right?
My dad clarified that for me earlier because I thought it was 3 months old, but I guess it was 6 months old. And I've been saying 3 months for 20 years. But anyway, in every interview I've ever done. But anyway, it was 6 months, and we lived in the Valley, right near here, sort of. It was Studio City.
Right.
And my dad was sent here as a young songwriter, and he wrote a big song for a Clint Eastwood movie called Every Which Way But Loose. And so then I started going to, as I grew up, my dad wrote a lot of big songs, and I went to private school in the Valley, and agent, I guess, saw me at my acting or the drama class and asked if I could, I talked to my mom and asked if I could do commercial or go on commercial auditions. And I was like, yeah, let's do this, And my mom was like nervous that I would, I think, that it would be bad for my self-esteem maybe if I didn't get a role, because I was a very sensitive kind of kid and had some issues with my schooling and stuff. Anyway, but when she realized that I had thick skin, and if I didn't get one, I just got, and she made a deal. I think, I started focusing a little bit more on my schooling if I wanted to go on my auditions, and, my parents weren't living off me, so it was kind of nice. I had this nice little savings that was saved for me so that when I was, 15, 16, I had my own money that I had made, and I did all these commercials, and then that led to, guesting on all these TV shows that I grew up watching as a kid, which was really surreal when you're actually then on the set and you watched them all these years as a kid. And you're on Different Strokes, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And I did Roseanne. I did all these shows I was watching, and then I was trying to get a movie. I really wanted to be in the movies, and I was getting callbacks. I just couldn't get a freaking movie, and then I was going to go to college, so. Because I was frustrated. I remember I auditioned for Juilliard and NYU and Boston U, and I was accepted to, I think, all three of them. And then I got The Power of One, my first kind of real
Appleton.
I left some out because I did obviously like The Gate when I was a kid. I forgot about that. I did that when I was doing all those commercials, but then, you know, and then it became kind of a big movie and I didn't know. And then I went back to doing the commercials. But yeah, Power of One was, then I kind of had a talk with my parents and I just said I'd rather make movies. And that was an incredible year of my life. I mean, I went to Zimbabwe and all over Africa, got my diploma sent to me in Africa, realized I graduated high school, and then I went to London and worked with Sir John Gielgud and all these really amazing actors. And, you know, I was 17, turned 18 on that movie, and that was really the beginning of, you know, wanted to make movies and all different kinds and just, you know, kept going.
Fantastic. We should open it to the students because
It's a cool,
it's here for
cool
them.
theater, actually.
Let me get one more question.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for people to line up. We were talking briefly backstage. There's two moments in the film where your character is giving these sort of history lessons. What was the choice behind?
You know, that was really Ryan Ross who was my partner and really built this whole thing with me. We hatched this idea. He really responded to these songs. We were like, what movie is there to make then? And the songs were a little more pop and they weren't Wheeler sounding. But, you know, he really, why I gave, you know, because we really made the movie together, but I wanted him to have the director credit because he really was behind I was doing what I was doing on the ground, but he really was the one that was feeding me those kinds of stories. You know, I didn't know about that assassination attempt on, that presidential assassination attempt, so he fed me that in the cafe. He really wanted Wheeler to not be, you know, just a redneck. You know, he wanted him to be, you know, smart and like Chris Christopherson, a real scholar and somebody that has learned and researched and knows who little Jimmy Dickens is. And he's not just, oh wow, this is Nashville, this is where, you know, Toby Keith's from or whatever. You know, this is a guy, you know, we wanted him to be a guy that has some roots and grew up loving Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, the guys that really made country music cool. Now we have actually, since Wheeler, we have guys like Chris Stapleton who are really doing well now, who's a great artist, you know, and he's bringing a little bit more of that back, you know. We've got guys like Sturgill Simpson, and these guys have are all seeing Wheeler and really liking Wheeler, and there's kind of a trend, so it's not just your bro country music, because country music's kind of a weird world, you know, they rap in these songs, they do some crazy, these country boys are going crazy out there. They're going crazy out there, so we just wanted to bring a little more traditional Americana kind of, and a character, and then I always saw it as a two-part thing. I said, if we have a good album, I want it to be a strong album where there's not just one good song and 9 duds. You know, we have a strong album and a movie, and they go together. So if we live in a digital space, which most of that is now in small movies, well, then if you hear the song on Spotify or on iTunes, you're going to go then and watch the movie. You're going to watch the movie, hopefully you're going to want to buy the music. You know, and it's like, but yeah, Ryan really was the one on these stories. You know, I knew Texas was its own country at one point, but I didn't know about the, you know, he really wrote it in a really beautiful way, I thought, and just handed it to me and then expected me to just memorize it in 2 seconds.
I thought it was a great touch.
And I'm driving. When he handed it to me too, I'm like, okay, alrighty, buddy, there's no trailer.
You're not on a flatbed?
Now.
You're driving.
Yeah, I'm driving and I'm trying to learn this thing. I pulled over, I learned it, and then we did it, you know?
No, it was great. It really added a lot of dimension. It was surprising about the character. You know,
he's got a lot of
there was
warmth.
nothing there that prepared you to discover this about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was very nice surprise.
One other quick little question. This image of that straight road with the trees that we see
in the
several
beginning
times,
and at the end.
Yeah.
That was basically the farm in Kaufman, you know, and that was just kind of, you know, I think at the end it slowed down a bit, you know, just because we're coming out of that accident, which is pretty, I wasn't in here when it happened, but it usually always gets a
I didn't see it coming.
Thing. But, you know,
it was beautiful image. It was a beautiful image.
It's just the
great.
kind of the image getting into you know, and that's actually Ryan's grandpa's farm, the director. So Kaufman's actually right, it's 30 minutes from Dallas, and it's this little teeny kind of horse town, and it's cool.
Yeah. Let's open up for the student because it's really for them.
Yeah.
For them to learn. And don't be shy, okay? Don't go home and say, I wish I asked that question. It's for you. Okay.
Thanks a lot. I really enjoyed the film.
Cool, man. Thanks.
I think you might have mentioned it, but I think I missed it. What cameras did you use when you were filming?
They were the Red Dragons, the 4K. Really kind of Jared was actually, this is his first movie. I think he did a great job. He worked on Vice a lot, and he shot this series on HBO. So he worked a lot in Iraq and in war, kind of documentary type footage stuff, and never shot a movie. And he's really cool. And he really wanted to use the Red Dragon, because I wasn't a big fan of Red when I've worked with them as an actor. I always feel like I like the Alexa better, but the Alexas, they didn't have, I think, Jared's mount that he likes and the way he wanted to shoot it, and we wanted flares and kind of it to be out of focus at times and just feel very like he would just capture anything. Yeah, he chose the dragons. I think the Red Dragon. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
Just out of curiosity too, was there like the slightest part of you that was thinking of parlaying this movie into like country music career?
Well, I mean, funny enough, I mean, you know, you can go online and read about it, but there's a lot of crazy shit going on right now with this. I mean, number one, you know, I did this because I knew I come from a songwriting family, so I knew the songs were going to be good, you know, and I just knew I was going to write. I've always written songs. I never wanted to give them I didn't want to do a Stephen Dorff album, you know what I mean? But finding Wheeler's voice actually gave me a grit in my voice that I'm now continuing using, and like, the song's going off right now. Pour Me Out of This Town's all over the radio now in country music, and it's also, it's rising a lot on Spotify. And it's actually, these are people that don't even know that, probably, maybe some of the people haven't even seen the movie or don't know it's me, that are just responding to the music only. I'm just talking about kind of Spotify, because I just got educated by that today, which was pretty intense and pretty cool how big the song's getting on that. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I just played the Ryman in Nashville, where Wheeler's trying to get to the whole time. We just played before Little Big Town and all these major country acts, and we played the Grand Ole Opry, and on February 3rd, the day the movie opened, and it was intense, man. It was fucking, I mean, I'm not a live performer, but I played with the full band, and we did 2 songs, and the crowd went off, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, now I'm getting booked at certain things, and I don't know, if they want me to play Stagecoach, I'll go up there as Wheeler. I'm not going up in the makeup. I go in a cowboy hat, and I just do it, and we just sing it, and I play. I mean, it's weird, but it's cool. But as far as the future, I'd love to, you know, if the album does well, and it, you know, we'll ride this out, because we've got a lot of singles on the record, and the album will be hanging around, as well as the film will, because in a weird way, we don't have to compete with, you know, mainstream, you know, movie-going kind of cinema on this one. This one can live digitally, and then by that time it's going to be on the DVD, and then by that time in May, June, it's going to Netflix. It's going to have its birth there for the summer, and then, you know, it'll just kind of keep simmering, and I kind of like that. There's no pressure, you know. Normally one of my movies, I know on a Friday if that thing's going to be in a theater the following week or so, you know, you're okay, the party's over. You know, Wheeler's gonna it's a word of mouth movie, and everybody that sees it usually, hopefully, tells their friends, and other people buy it, and just, it's kind of, there's been a lot of, you know, every week I get more press requests. So like normally the press ends after your first big junket or your talk show circuit, whereas you know, I just did Larry King last week. Now it looks like I'm doing some more stuff in New York. I've been to New York 3 times. So it's kind of like Wheeler, it's like slowly people are maybe waking up to Wheeler here, and he's, you know, he's going to have a nice run here without really the pressure of having to hold cinemas. And, you know, look, I mean, I always say it's better to see a movie in the theater, but in a weird way, I just want as many eyes on Wheeler and on the music, so I feel like digital is probably the better space for that. You know, I've been watching a lot of movies at home, too. I used to, if you asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be like, man, I make movies for the big screen. What the hell, man? You know? But now I actually like kind of watching shit at home, too. Yeah. So, you know, it's world's changing.
There's no pressure of a sequel either.
Yeah.
No pressure. No, I always saw it as a one thing. I wanted to make Wheeler kind of, you know, like Jeff Buckley and some of these guys, a lot of these guys that kind of die early and then their music kind of lasts. You know, I kind of saw Wheeler as just this 2-part thing, a movie and an original album.
Yeah.
And they live that way forever. And if I go do another album probably won't be under Wheeler. You know, I'd probably go to me because you know it's me who kind of made Wheeler. You know, so in a weird way, I think that's what people are discovering is that whole, especially in Nashville and the music community, that's what's happening. So we'll see, man. But I'll play Stagecoach, or I'll bring Wheeler up there. You know, I think I'm supposed to play in Texas for Texas radio stations coming up, and
very cool.
yeah, it's been fun.
Very cool.
South by
What
South.
happened with Audrey, by the way?
Audrey just
I think
had a
she's
baby.
awesome.
Yeah, she just had a baby. She's a songwriter in Nashville. You know, she plays herself again. You know, we met a few girls. Ryan found her and through Bobby again. And she had something really natural and just real about her, you know, no actressy kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was just.
And the song she did together with the other girl
she's a great
was
singer.
fantastic.
Yeah, we
So
played.
what's happening with her? We have to help her out too.
She's, you know, she's quite successful in Nashville. You know, there's all these songwriters in Nashville you wouldn't hear about, but when they get songs cut, they make good money. You know, songwriter at the end of the day makes more money than the artist, usually on the song, and then the artist makes their money touring and merchandise and.
But she had a good voice also.
Yeah, no, she's really good. She just had a baby. She played at the Bluebird with us after the Nashville premiere, and she was awesome.
Okay, I just didn't want to forget her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Thea, and that was a really great performance. It was very natural. And I'm like from a small town, so it was really weird like seeing it on screen because like it's so simple and like nothing happens there. So I was like, what? But I really wanted to know what your like rehearsal process was. Like, how did you get into character so fast? Because that was like dead on. Like I knew like 5 people that were you. It was weird.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I mean, Ryan again, I mean, I obviously knew the makeup was given to me, so I had that, and then the accent was Texas, where especially Ryan being from Texas, he just kind of I tend to speak fast, you know, in my real life. I'm like Google, you know, I'm just like my brain is crazy. So Ryan would just always be like, slow it down, you know. I'd be like, well, how slow, man? This is gonna put people to sleep, you know. If I say, could I borrow that jacket again from you because I just got a little cold out here. It just I feel like I feel like an old man, Ryan. I mean, what do you mean? And he's like, no, but the Texas, you just got to slow it down. So all these Texan friends of mine that are actors, like Bill Paxton, God bless him, he was at the Wheeler premiere, which is really sad that he's not here. Loved the movie and thought I nailed the Texas accent. He told me he's a Texan. And Owen Wilson also said, you know, nobody ever gets that right. You got it really good. And I'm like, thanks. You know, so yeah, I think, you know, I didn't have much rehearsal because we didn't have much of a script. So I think Ryan, what he did was put really interesting people. Ryan went ahead early, and while I'm doing all my music and practicing and doing that whole side of the movie, which is really a big part since there's no script, and we're building the movie with the music, right? It's first he's a guy against a tree, and you're like, oh, he's all right, you know, he's not amazing, you know, and then boom, he goes to Nashville, and then he plays again, and you're like, well, he kind of blew it. He wants to leave. Then he gets his keyboard, and he's like, oh wow, maybe he is pretty good. Then he goes in with the studio musician, you know, and it's just building, you know, and so like I'm doing that stuff. Ryan was casting this beautiful cast of real people. And I think that's what makes it, you know, and then I would just vibe off them and their energy the way I would any other actor or actress if we had the material in front of us. But because we don't, Sherry would be all uncomfortable, for example, the lady in the diner, and be like, well, what do you want me to do? You know, what do you want me to do? And I said, look, Sherry is as Wheeler. I said, just ask me what you would normally do if I come in and I sit here. Just ask me what I want to eat, you know, I'm gonna ask for the check, I may ask you a couple questions, just talk to me. Forget these cameras exist, you know. My bozo friend anyway, you know, whatever, you know, and throw it off, and then she goes for it. You know, cut to, she comes to the premiere in Nashville all dressed up, and she's all excited, she's in a movie, she had no idea, you know. I mean, maybe she thought it was some, you know, TV thing or documentary thing, you know, they didn't really know what they were doing though, and that's what was cool.
But she was asking interesting questions.
Yeah,
actually.
I loved her, man. I mean, I thought
know?
Ryan did a great job at casting really cool people. Cause
what about that guy with the
he's
blonde
real.
hair?
That guy has like a
he works at the store.
Toddzilla, yeah. That guy works at Corner Music, which is where like Hank Williams goes to get guitars sometimes. I mean, all these guys go in there, and he works there, and I mean, that guy came to the premiere in Nashville in a purple, like, top hat and purple trench coat with the hair coming out, and he basically, I said, what's with the outfit, Todd? You know, and he's like, dude, I got a gig after. I'm in a Prince cover band. And I'm like, all right, this guy's like full on crazy person. But I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. All these guys are like, they're the real characters of that town, you know. Jim Ed Norman, which was a stage scene, that scene, the head of Curb Music. We needed a link to get me in the studio, and so we had him do that scene, but he was great. You know, he's not an actor. This is a real iconic music executive. And so, you know, it was just really an interesting way of doing things on this one. I probably won't get a chance to experience that kind of acting experience again because you just don't on a normal movie, even on a small independent movie. You still have a crew, you have a structure, you have a... Go for it, buddy. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for being here today. It's an honor.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Okay, so I'm from the filmmaking department, so my question is going to be a more writing, filmmaking type of question. When you normally offer the role, how do you go about like making your call whether you want to take the role or not? Like, is it normally the type of role offered or the story overall? Or
this one or another?
No, like
one?
in general.
Oh, in general, yeah. This one I created for myself, so I just and I didn't know what the heck we were creating, but now it's a movie. But yeah, and but in the future, yeah, I mean, in my life, I mean, I've always kind of been director driven, and I usually, if it's a new director, you know, I've taken movies with first time directors that have written me just a letter before. If I really like the material, I'll meet that person, and I get a vibe for myself of, you know, because I have to believe in the captain of the ship, or I can't really trust him to want to do my best work, and I can't really, vice versa, commit the way I should be committing. So the few times that I've done, you know, luckily in the 40-something, I don't know how many I've done, but I know it's 40-something. But in the 40-something movies I've, you know, starred in or had a major role in, I've only done like maybe 5 or 6 that I wish I never did, you know.
That's a good track record.
Yeah, not bad.
Can you name a few?
I just hate it, you know, and that was because I did it for different reasons or money, and I just was miserable, and you know, and I shouldn't have been working with those people, you know, and it just didn't. I knew it was never going to be good, no matter how I could act my heart out, and you know, be crying, you know, I could have, you know, I mean, I could do it all, but it ain't going to be there because that captain wasn't there on the playing field with me, kind of, you know, maybe. And I, you know, usually that's what you see De Niro in certain movies, you know, it's because they paid him a lot, you know, and you always want to do your best work, I think, when it's from the creative place. So, like, what is that material? What is that part? Who's that director? You know, let's try to make a deal, and, you know, if we can make a deal, let's make that movie. And if we love that part so much, then, you know, you're pretty much going to do that part. You don't want to blow that, I think, for money, you know what I mean? Like, I've blown some things for money, and I've always been kind of upset that I did that, you know? Like, maybe my team pushed too hard, you know, and then that director went with someone else, you know? But it was mine originally, you know?
You hear it from a lot of people. Jodie Foster
or I've
told
turned
me,
down
other
certain
people,
things, too, that I just didn't, you know, and they went on to be fucking great movies. So.
And how do you feel about that?
Terrible, but what are you gonna do? But what are you gonna do? You can't really look back. You know, you got to keep going, I guess.
No regrets.
Yeah, no regret. But I mean, really, director and the script, you know, and
right.
Yeah,
Well,
I read a
thank you.
cool script today, actually, and
You did?
yeah, I hadn't read a good script in a little while. It was pretty cool.
Congratulations on the production.
Thanks.
I'm in the screenwriting program, and my question to you is, how did with this production, this film, how did you get the idea to make this homage to country music?
Well, I mean, the way it started was very weird. I had 4 songs. I had 4 of the songs you heard in the movie, and they sounded like my normal speaking voice, kind of the way I would normally sing, which is a little more, I don't know, maybe that guy from the Lumineers or Jack Johnson. Kind of the guitar songs were a little more folk rock, a little maybe Coldplay-ish, melodic, kind of almost alternative indie rock music. And we couldn't come up with a character, and that sounded like I sounded. So I was like, there is no movie. What are we going to do? I mean, one of my songs had electronic kind of beats to it a little bit, and I've gone to Ibiza a lot in my life, and I like kind of melodic electronic music too sometimes. So I was, my music would have kind of a mix of a lot of stuff, and some songs were a little more with an electronic beat, and some were a little more stripped down guitar songs. And Ryan really liked the songs, and he thought, well, what about country, your brother lives in Nashville, he's a big songwriter, your dad, you've gone there your whole life. What if this guy was from Texas and we tried to hit? And I was like, country? Well, yeah, it's a world I know, but well, I guess we should go in the studio and see if I can make these songs sound country, or if I can even find a voice. Because I can mimic anything. I can copy. I mean, I grew up doing that with my dad. I used to copy Randy Travis and all these big country acts. I'd be like, that guy's funny, Dad. And I'd be like, sing like him and do, and mimic him pretty good, But I was like, I got to find my own voice if I'm going to write these songs. So we went in the studio, Michael's studio, right here in Burbank, and we brought in some steel guitar, slide guitar, and changed the sound of some of these songs, made them a little more country feel. And I started singing, and then one day I got the voice of Wheeler, and it was like, I just got it. And now, funny enough, 2 years later, from when we shot the movie to it coming out, to the album being out, now that I'm playing live a lot, or at least I have been in the last month, I feel like my singing voice has gotten a lot better, too. I have a lot more, after the Ryman, I was nervous to play the Ryman because that got booked, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then the day came, and I was like, in Johnny Cash and June Cash's dressing room, and I was like, this is gnarly. These are real musicians. These guys do this for, Little Big Town is a big band that wins Grammys, and they're big in the country world. Mo Pitney, all these... it was a full bill, and then I'm up there, and it was like, whoa.
I thought you died before you got to the Ryman.
No, but I was really nervous. I was like, didn't want to do it. I almost bailed out, and I was just didn't know what to do. I was really feeling kind of sick to my stomach, and then I bet. And then, because with the songs I picked, we were going to obviously do "Pour Me Out of This Town," but I started with this song "Tribe" on the piano. I wanted to set the vibe, and in the Ryman, it's known. Even the Stones will tell you, Bob Dylan will tell you, there's something magical about that room. It fits only 2,600 people, I think, but it's it's like a church, man. It's got stained glass windows, they're pews like in church, and everybody's just sitting there from all over the world, and it's got the best acoustics of any place, and I just was like, God, I hope I don't screw this up, And once I got through that, I felt like, Jesus, I could play anywhere. I could play the Staples Center right now. Let's do it, If I had a guitar, I'd play for you right now.
Do you have a guitar here?
Yeah,
I actually like the songs on the keyboard.
Yeah, Wheeler, what I loved about, the thing is,
yes.
I play piano more naturally. Probably got that from my dad, but, I'm getting better at the guitar. But I wanted to make, I like that evocative. I like that cool,
yes.
I thought that was unique that a country guy is behind the keys. You don't see that very much.
Yes.
You don't see Keith Urban behind the piano, These guys are always with their guitars. So I thought Wheeler's, in a way, he's kind of he's got this Elton John vibe a little bit. More of a pianist, more of a Ben Folds 5 kind of country man.
Yeah, but I think it gave it really an extra thing. I think the songs, for me, more evocative.
Listen to the album too.
Basically.
It's a weird album. And I don't just hear it from my friends. It's like the album is a. That's what I'm kind of most proud of in a weird way too, and the performance and the whole thing. But the album is really special because I wrote it all, and it's cool. There hasn't been an actor that's done that, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. So who released the album, basically?
The biggest soundtrack label in the country, in the world, Varese Saraband, which they did Whiplash, they did Hacksaw Ridge, Your Guy Monday, they did Mel's movie.
Yes.
So basically, I was going to go to a normal label and do it like a normal artist. and I didn't want to. I mean, at first I didn't want to say my name. I wanted the movie to come out. I didn't want to say my name and all this stuff. I mean, it just was turning into a major headache because the truth is, you can't hide the fact that it's me because it is my stuff. You know, and also I can't be Banksy in the art world in this character forever. Right. You know, it costs way too much money to put that makeup on every day, and it also just would be exhausting. And I got other movies to make, and so. I gave up on that pretty quick, but yeah, there's still kind of this cool little mystery about it. Like I like the back of the album. It says just Wheeler Bryson. You know, it's kind of
that's funny.
Neat.
It's great.
Stephen Dorff is Wheeler Bryce.
I got one other question for you. When you started filming, you had, I'm correct, you had a 12-page treatment?
Yeah.
And the rest was improv?
Yeah. Rest kind of wrote itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
But you have to be an actor, I guess. Yeah. First.
Yeah, Ryan trusted, you know, me because we'd worked together too on a lot of film. He was my assistant for a long time. Well, from the Sofia Coppola movie Somewhere from 2010 or 9 to 15, 16. And then we kind of got a divorce and
you always have to leave.
You spend like every day with somebody, you know, in all these countries and stuff. Sometimes you'll hit a wall at some point. You know, it's like worse than being married in a way because you're kind of just like together all the time. You just need some space. So we took a year space and then we got back together and that's when he said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "I've been writing songs. What do you think?" And he was like, "What the hell?" Because I never really completed my music. I would play piano. I always have instruments around when I'm shooting, but I'm not. They're on an iPad somewhere. They're uncompleted. I wasn't writing lyrics. I wasn't singing them. More like score stuff, you know.
All right.
Hi. I was wondering, in one of the ending monologues, is the radio host talking about your death? Did she know that Wheeler wasn't a real person?
She didn't know Wheeler. She thought Wheeler was real when we did the first scene, the radio scene. And she, again, Bobby, you know, she's a big programmer in Nashville, or she does the Grand Ole Opry channel in Nashville, and so she has this big show at night she does. And she didn't know, and I totally kind of charmed her in the scene, and we met. But then after, she was so great that when we decided how we were going to end the movie, we called her. And obviously we told all these people kind of after, because we weren't trying to, you know, dupe them or anything. We just wanted to get the filming part to be as real as it could be. And so then we asked her to do that. You know, we did the same thing with Bart Herbison, the guy I play Fever on the couch for. He knew that I was coming in, that I was under some makeup, but he hadn't heard the music. He was told to react how he normally would when people come and play for him on his couch. And he knew there were some cameras, but he was so damn good in the scene. And something happened between us in this improv that we then had him come back too at the end, you know, because like, you know, you're casting this movie, it's like, he was great. He was so natural.
Totally.
Yeah, he just called me and said he got a job. He's playing a sheriff. I'm like, but you're the head of the NSAI in Nashville. How are you? He's like, yeah, I'm playing a sheriff in this horror movie. I'm going to do it for a week in New York. I'm like, all right, Bart, you can have you know. So all these people that we cast are like, you know, they're all going to end up coming here probably
huge
trying
careers.
to get agents and shit.
Yeah.
You'll be in Nashville, they'll be out here.
Yeah. So weird.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
My question is, what do you think? Like one of the things that you did was the most helpful to helping you create the character, or say recreate the work. Tough question.
No, I guess, I mean, I'm just trying to think. I mean, because, you know, you get the makeup and then I don't really look like myself, so I'm already kind of somebody else. And then that really helped me. The makeup helped me the most as far as going up in front of people live, because I really knew I had this camouflage going on. But I think it was the accent and really just the soul of the guy, because he's probably the nicest, kind of most humble, just good old boy I've ever played in a movie. So I've never really played a guy that talks like that. I've never played a guy that looks like that. I've never played a guy that sounds like that. I mean, it was a weird one, man. I just kind of went for it, and I honestly didn't know if we would have a movie at the end of it. I knew we had some great moments. I knew we had, the Bluebird was a highlight. I knew we had that one we won. I knew we had some great characters. I knew the Christopherson sequence was going to be good. I knew we had a great sequence in the studio with those musicians who had no clue who I was, and that was one of the biggest wins for me in the whole shooting, was because I know a couple of those guys from my dad, and they were just booked as the best session players in Nashville. They were booked for a 3-hour master session. They came in, they signed releases to talk, because Ryan said, we're doing this thing on Wheeler, trying to get him a deal, and do you mind telling us what you thought of the session today? And that was the coolest day, because I actually cut 3 songs that are on the album, filmed the movie in there, did all that in 3 hours, and nobody had a clue. It was awesome. And so that was probably the accent. On this one, it was kind of a blend of everything. You can't do it without one thing. It's like you got to have it all.
And being in Nashville helps too.
Yeah, being in Nashville, staying at this farm where I got to rehearse and play music every day and just go through the songs every day. It's just something different I've never experienced. I've never done it before. So it's weird that Wheeler chooses to go to Nashville at 41, and I'm 43 now, and I'm doing music for the first time ever. So, and I told myself I didn't want to do an album as me, because there's always a thing with actors, and musicians want to be actors. Tim McGraw wants to be in the movies, right? Johnny Depp and Kevin Bacon and Kevin Costner and all the a lot of guys that I'm friends with have their bands, right? But it tends to be more covers and cover bands and cover songs, and sometimes they're original songs, but for the most part it comes off not legitimate, So I felt like I didn't want to go there unless I knew I could do it the right way, especially just because I don't want to embarrass my dad and my brother and a world of songwriters where I do come from that have done very well in that business. So I wanted to do it right. And I've always loved music, and I've always used music in my roles, so just behind the scenes.
I wanted to ask you about the whole backstory about the girl that died. Where did that come from? Was it before, when you went already had the notion of that character and the pain that he had, or is it something that came up later on?
Me and Ryan had talked a lot about, when you don't have a script and when you just come up with a few pages of a character and where he comes from. I like to play devil's advocate always with my characters when I read a script too, and just whatever I don't believe, I like to ask the question. If I don't get a good answer back, or then I know there's a hole or some problem, And I instinctually, I'm like, why is he going to Nashville at 41 when it's only a 12-hour drive? But he loves this place, and he's grew up learning about it from his dad and all the stuff we've talked about. Why is he going at 41? He said, Stephen, some people, because of what they go through, so they don't leave there.
Right.
And I thought about a friend of mine from San Diego who lives in San Diego. It's 2 hours away, right? It's like he's been to LA maybe twice. I'm like, what are you doing, man? You don't come in and go to a concert, or you never want to go to a Laker game or Clipper game or anything? He's like, no, I like it here. I'm like, all right. And then I was like, all right, I buy that. But then what else happened to Wheeler? And then we started building into, that I wanted a form of loss to have happened that would have taken him out for 6-7 years, where he would have lost.
Yeah.
Maybe right as he began loving writing, and he was going to go make that journey, and he had dabbled in Austin, but this happened, and then he just went somewhere else, I think, into a lost time. And then, and so we just kind of riffed it. But that scene I did with Audrey, I never told her what the secret was, And we did 2 takes of that scene, and it was an intense, just totally improv, totally great scenery, great setting, and just worked, It
really worked.
Great moment.
Okay.
Hey.
Nice hat.
Hey.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So on that one scene where you guys were trying to get into the backstage door of I forgot what venue it was at.
Yeah, that's the Ryman, yeah.
Yeah, the Ryman.
Yeah.
How far would y'all have gone if there hadn't actually had been security right there? Would you guys have
kept
actually
going? I mean, I knew there'd be security just because I've been in there a bunch of times with my brother and my dad over the years, but I knew there's always a dude there, But that was the only scene where we didn't get those releases, so we had to. It kind of worked because we're kind of doing it in a documentary style anyway. But yeah, no, it's kind of. We just went for it, you know, and then we shot in the alley, and we did all that. Like, we weren't supposed to do any of that, and we just kind of. There's some of the. I like some of those moments. They're in the trailer too, because I love seeing Wheeler like a kid in a candy store.
That's what it really was.
Because that really is the mother church of country music. I mean, that's where Johnny Cash did his talk show when that was a big talk show for a while, right? For a couple years.
Yeah.
They just done so much in there.
I just also want to commend you on just your performance in the movie because it was absolutely wonderful. I've never really been like a huge fan of country music, but you made me want to get the album after this. Like,
Sweet, man.
It was
go.
amazing job, dude.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Yeah, you can get it on iTunes or Spotify. You get it on all that.
Under your name?
No, under Wheeler, the soundtrack.
Whoa,
Yeah. It's through Universal, but it's Perez Saraband. They're like a great soundtrack. I mean, they literally just do soundtracks. So I figured this is a soundtrack, but let's make it more like a record. It's not going to have like 10 different artists on it.
Right.
It's just Wheeler, you know.
I love it.
And then we got Chris Christopherson at the end, so that's pretty good.
There you go. Okay, I wanted to thank you so much.
Thank you for having
coming
me.
here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.